This is a test run of the Mattel Thingmaker Fright Factory set. I recently got this for Christmas from an awesome person. It's an awesome gift. Something that I have wanted since I became aware of them years and years ago. These toys were a little before my time. I think this came out in 66, 67. I was born in 70, so it's something that, you know, I had brothers and stuff. My brother, his friends had them, but we never knew how to make them work. We couldn't get the goop, stuff like that. So this uses a material that is called goop. Originally it's called Patti-Goop. This is Patti-Goop. You can find this online, Patti-Goop.com. This person is making these using the original chemicals. It's a simple polymer, and then they are color matching them so that they match the original Mattel colors. So this is a glow-in-the-dark Nite-Glo. Hopefully I can make a glow-in-the-dark skeleton. So here are the molds. These are, I believe, a zinc mold. They're brilliant. They're really well done, especially for something nowadays where everything is made out of plastic and don't last. These molds, you know, are very strong, very robust, and as long as you treat them relatively well, they will last indefinitely. So we also have, this is the heating element. This is simply a little hot pad. There's heat coming off of it here. The idea is that you take this polymer, you fill the mold while it's liquid, you put it in here, you heat it up to a certain temperature, then you cool it down, and it will actually make a rubberized material. These were originally developed for fishermen to make lures. I'm sure that it was some industrial usage before that, but in the 50s and 60s, fishermen, you couldn't just go to the store and buy necessarily the lure that you wanted. So you would use this material to make different worms and crickets and stuff like that, so that when you were going out fishing, you had these fresh lures, and you could put different colors in them and stuff, like whatever you wanted to do. So Mattel took that technology and decided, let's, you know, have fun stuff for kids to make. So this is the skeleton mold, and I tried this earlier, so it's a little wet, so I'm actually going to dry this out first. Should have done that with some canned air first, but hey, you know, thinking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this with the goop while it's still cool, because when I've tried to do this by first heating the mold, what happens is that the material starts to set very quickly and you can't fill things correctly. The detail doesn't look great, and it actually will cause air bubbles on the surface of the piece, so it doesn't look nicely detailed. It looks kind of fuzzy because of these air bubbles, minuscule air bubbles on the surface. So you see how I'm just trying to get that to flow just to the point where it fills the mold. There's a little hang ring up there, so I want to give it a little extra there to let that equalize. And then we have a leg. So, and these squeeze bottles are absolutely key to being able to do this with any sort of control. So I want to hit that ring for that guy first, let that fill up, let this flow all in here, because you don't want any more excess than you have to. You can trim this stuff with nail scissors, but it's kind of a pain. And so there's a chain and these two pieces of chain, so you actually can have him with a ball and chain around his ankle. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and fill these, though. These little bits are pegs that you use to actually assemble the skeleton. I don't know how much I'm willing to play with this, because even trying to do this very carefully, see how it's just filling in, so I would need to get some nail scissors or whatever to cut those out so that they work right. I'll probably figure another way of working that out. So once the mold is filled, then we have these little doohickeys here, and turn me around like this. Those squeeze together, go in there, give you a little handle. You can then lift this up and quite simply put it in the mold, and then you let it cook. Now this is going to take a minute because the mold now has to heat. It has to heat the material. You can see how this is starting to thin out once it's hit on the heat. Once it's on the heat. So here are some parts where this overfilled. It will kind of spread out as it gets more liquid. But again, this is a trial piece. I'm just trying to make sure this unit works. It seems to be fine. I'm getting good constant heat from it. There don't seem to be any shorts, which is always a danger with these old cords especially. So these are the instructions for the Fright Factory. The artwork on the cover of this thing is amazing. It is one of the best, creepy as hell box art pieces. And, you know, show don't tell, so I'll move this around. This one has a scuff on it, but you can still tell just the sheer awesomeness of this. What parent doesn't want to see that? You know, here, Sally, you have a diseased tongue and a bone through your nose. You know, welcome to the world. You also can make claws, little wraparound finger claws. You make the skeleton, the shrunken head. This is a gag where it looks like your mouth is locked closed, and you have a third eye. So you've achieved consciousness, but you're not telling anybody about it. Scars, fangs, fake eyeball, mustache, fangs. So you can look like, I don't even want to know, like the guy in the Village People became a vampire, you know. So great artwork, brilliant colors. This one was obviously stored in the sunlight because you see the coloration here is a little dim, but here it's just so freaking gross, and I love it. There was a whole movement in the 60s movement, the monster kids, these kids who, due to the fact that the Universal Monster movies had been re-released, oh, that was a weird squeak, re-released onto television, that all these kids suddenly became aware of Frankenstein and Dracula and all this stuff, and so they got really obsessed with it. The Munsters were on TV, the Addams Family were on TV, there were cartoons, Milton the Monster. There's all this stuff that kind of combined in the 60s to create this whole generation of kids who loved monsters, loved scary movies, and loved having fun with it. So that's where all these toys come from. This is the other skeleton-based mold that came with the set. It's got a skull and these bones that hang down. But you see here's a connector here, there, and then into this. So this is like a peg. That's a hole, so you can connect these together to make a necklace. So you can actually make your, witch doctor necklace there. Again, incredibly culturally sensitive on these things. That's the magic third eye, so you can put like a black dot there, color here, and then fill the rest of it with white so that it makes this whole fake eye that you put on your forehead. This is one of the other really amazing molds. Again, that they gave these to kids. They made these for children. It's a two-part shrunken head mold. So you have, this is the face, and you can kind of see that in reverse there. He's all dried out. And then this is a filler part that slots in like so that as you pour the material in there, it basically makes like a little rubber mask. It makes like a little skin. And you have a couple of other parts here. This is a bone that goes in his nose, because again, cultural sensitivity. This is a little wrap that you put around the top of it, and it comes with these hanks of fake hair, which again, this set is brilliant that it has the extras in it, which usually you don't find this stuff. All this stuff has gotten used or thrown away. So this has this hair that you put on the top so you can hang the shrunken head from the rearview mirror of your hot rod. So that's that one. These little beads, and again, sealed package of these. This is absolutely amazing that these are included with this. It was such a great find from my friend who got me this. But these little beads go in the eye sockets of the skeleton, so that he has like little gem eyes, because back 60s, 70s, anytime you got like a shrunken head or something, you wanted it to have glow eyes, a voodoo glow skull. So this is still cooking. You can see that these parts have already set, so they're all one consistent color. The chest cavity is always going to be the issue because it's got the most material in it. So I'm just letting that hang out. Not sure what you're doing there, buddy, but we'll smooth that out a little bit. Let this go for just a little bit longer. I don't want to overcook it because, again, I think that's what causes this bubbling effect. So here is the instruction manual, all of the stuff that it came with. You got the handle. The only thing this set doesn't come with, which is actually not even an issue, is there's a little prying tool, which this is actually a metal pen, which can damage the mold. So I actually prefer to use, these are bamboo skewers. That will not damage the coating on the mold or anything. So bad idea, Mattel, good idea, Brian. It came with Patti-Goop, came with all the molds. this actually comes with the plastic knife, which I don't even know what you use that for, but who knows. So there are the beads, the hair, and then basically this is just the instruction manual about how you do all these things. You have like the fake lips and fake teeth, and you actually cast little pegs that you put into the mold so that then you can put them in your mouth so you look like you've got that on there. Hopefully this stuff is non-toxic. Again, that's always the supposition. Here are the molds for the fingernails that you make 10 of these and then wrap them around, put them on your hands so you have big scary claws. You have the diseased tongue, the nose bone, the mustache, and you can combine them however you feel like. Here is the skeleton. So you cast the leg twice, you cast the arm twice. You have a little hanging chain from the top, and you have the ball and chain on the bottom. And then you cast these little pegs, and those all go in to actually attach the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and pull this now, because I think that this is done, and I'm getting a weird smoke from there that I don't think I need to be breathing. And so listen for this. Oh, yeah. This toy is hot. This toy is very hot. And I understand the whole parental thing of we don't want our kids playing with dangerous toys. But honestly, we teach our kids now to go into the kitchen and to learn how to cook. And if you're teaching them how to cook, they're in the most dangerous place in your house. Even a workshop, even a home workshop is not necessarily as dangerous as a kitchen. You have fire and you have knives in a kitchen. So this is a toy that, okay, I understand why they pulled it, but they pulled it because people were basically giving these to kids and going, here, do this, without any kind of parental supervision whatsoever. If a parent shows a kid how to use this thing, kids are smart enough, they're not going to hurt themselves on it. So, but yeah, if you just gave this box to a kid and goes, go out in the garage and have fun, kid, they're going to hurt themselves. That's the parental responsibility. I think toys like this are actually very important because they get kids used to the idea of handling dangerous materials, which they're going to do when they get into work. If you get into any kind of construction job or manufacturing job, you're going to be dealing with hugely dangerous things. But if you play with a toy like this, you get to learn about proper PPE, you get to learn about proper procedure, and you learn to do things that are dangerous safely, which is important as you're going into adulthood. I'm going to unplug this now because I'm still not sure that this cord is perfectly safe. And that goop in the chest still looks a little unset, but I'm not real worried about it. This is just a test piece, so let's do this. Let's see if that plate's still hot. Oh yeah, that plate is still hot. So let's quite simply, I'm going to pat him dry. That is still a little goopy, but I think it'll set by the time that it cools. Let's try to get this guy out. I'm going to start up here on the head and just work around. This stuff is actually relatively resilient once it is cured, so I can peel that up, get my finger in there, and just peel back. Much better casting than the first one I did. So yeah, definitely, if you find yourself using one of these, fill it first before you heat it. This stuff is actually, you don't need to actually even use the hot plate. You can actually heat it in a microwave. If you have an old microwave that you're not using, you can heat it to a specified temperature, and as long as it gets to that temperature, once it cools, it will polymerize. I think this one too, and this may just be because of the glow-in-the-dark powder, but it's got a slight matte effect to it, but that's pretty great. I mean, go in here with some nail scissors and trim all this up. I'm going to stand up here so you can actually see how detailed this guy is. So that's a pretty great casting for a toy that is literally older than I am. And I love the idea that we can get these materials now and still have fun with these things. I mean, they're built, not necessarily the units. This part is, it works, but these molds are built like tanks. And there's so much that you could still do with them. I actually have pulled resin castings out of these, and the detail of them is so much better than they look. There was a lot of skill and craft put into making these things for kids who then burnt themselves and didn't appreciate it and didn't deserve them. So yeah, and one of the things now is, again, I'm doing these test pieces because there was other material here. I don't know if you can see that, but there are little pieces of color there, and as I'm pulling these test pieces, it's pulling all that stuff out. So that's a good way of cleaning them. So yeah, here are the basic parts to make the skeleton. And missing the camera completely there. Focus. There you go. So yeah, that is the jointed skeleton from the Mattel Thingmaker Fright Factory from 1966, 1967. So hope you're all doing well. Bye.